Hey readers and writers, today we're talking about my top 5 tips for getting over your writer's block. I've definitely experienced writer's block, but I think because I always have thought about these tools, I always have something to do when I sit down in my designated writing time, which I'm also not great at. Man, you know what I need a video on? A tutorial video on? How to get more done in the same amount of time. Is that a thing we all struggle with? Like, how can I write my books faster? Because I kind of always know where my story is going, I always have something that I can write. I just don't always have the self-discipline to sit down and write it. But when I sit down, when I have the discipline and I don't know what I need to write, these are the things that I do. Number 1, I plot my story. I plot the bare bones of the story, mostly 5 points that I've covered in other videos: the inciting incident, rising action, a moment of indecision, when shit gets real, and the climax. Then I'll also make a summary of what I may or may not have so far, and I'll try and write a query letter, which is a super short version, just the hook. This doesn't necessarily help me develop what's happening next in the story, but it gets me focused on what's important in what I already have. That does help me. I do have tools for all of that on my website, hspaisley.com. Feel free to download those and I hope they're helpful for you. Tip number 2. Plot your character's arc. This might sound stupid, but your characters have 2 options through your story, right? They're gonna change or they're not gonna change. If they're not gonna change, okay, I hope you don't have too many characters like that. If they are going to change, and I hope they're going to change, plot that change. Who do you want your characters to be at the end of your story? How do you want them to see the world differently? How have they changed? This can be a positive change or a negative change. But if you know where your characters are going, you'll be better able to write how they get there. Number 3, make a list of the conversations you want your characters to have. If you know that your main character and their love interest are going to fight about something, make a note of it. What are they going to fight about? How did they gain the information that they're fighting about? Was that in a previous conversation with a side character? If you know you want a side character to be involved in some main plot, how do they get there? What's the conversation that they have? If you want to express a hobby of your character, they're gonna have to talk about it at some point. Where does that happen? Make a list of all the conversations you want your characters to have, or at least the ones you have in mind, and then look through that list. See if you can write one of them, even if it's point form or a paragraph of just what the conversation covers. You can then take that, look at your story arc, and figure out where it goes in your timeline. Tip number 4, read what you've got. I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't edit along the way, and honestly, do what works for you. Edit or don't edit along the way. But I do think that having a general idea of what you already have is gonna help you fill in the blanks. If you don't know what you have and you don't know where you're going, how are you gonna get there? As you're reading what you have, I suggest putting it in your story arc so that you could see on one piece of paper, okay, he goes here and she does this and they do this and I get to this point in my arc and I don't know where to go. All right, well now I'm gonna look at my list of conversations. Have all these conversations happened? Are they already in the story arc? No, this one goes here. Great, I can write that. I have a little space here of something I need to fill in. I'll fill it in later. Keep going. The better you know what you already have, the better you'll be able to evolve it into what you want. And tip number 5, stop stressing, start reading. Read, 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 read in your genre. Please, please, please read in your genre. I hear authors all the time saying, oh, I don't want to read in my genre because I don't want to steal anybody's ideas. Have you plagiarized from the books you've already read? If you don't know what's out there, you don't know how to make your story unique. Also, there are so many things you will read and you'll think, oh man, I don't want to do that. And it will spark an idea for you of what you might want to do, right? We're looking for inspiration in the things that we love. We're looking for things that we can learn from other authors in our genre. When you're reading, you're studying. You are working on your writing when you're reading. And if you're not a huge reader, but you are a writer, guilty, although I do listen to a bajillion audiobooks and I do think that's reading. The same thing can be applied to watching shows and movies in the genre of the novel you're working on. The qualifier I would put on that, and with reading as well, is that do that critically. You can passively watch or read or listen to something, and you can actively watch or read or listen to something. And actively watching, reading, or listening to something is gonna get you unstuck, or at least I hope it will. I hope all these things help. I do have these tools up on my website, links in the description. Thanks so much for making it to the end of this video. I hope these tips are helpful to you. Let me know what you're working on, if you're having trouble with it, if you're blocked, if you're not, how you got unblocked, and as always, keep writing and stay hydrated.